right. Oh, they're slow.
Yeah, he's being needy. I'm not mad. We should do logistical intro-y stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you mind actually spotlighting my other one so I can
Don't mind at all.
go through our list? I'd love to say I can do it from memory, but times are complicated.
Cat number 2.
All right. So first off, if you don't know us, I am Mike, and the other one is Ruth. So if you haven't yet, you can PayPal us for this. We're using a PayPal Zoom. There's a link in the event. That is optional, right? If you're in a place where you can't afford it, we totally understand. If you can, that's great. It helps us do more of these classes. So, donate if you can. Either way, we're really glad that you are here. Let's see. Today we're going to be doing mooches and grinds. We're doing them in that order. Is that true?
That is correct.
Cool. Great. We didn't do mooches and grinds last week, right? No, this is week 2. I think I'm tired.
We've been doing so many steps to these that sometimes it feels like we're in weeks 1, 2, and 3 concurrently. Hopefully we don't feel like that. But we're excited we have week 3 all ready for you for tomorrow.
Yeah. I think that's it. You mentioned about cameras. If you want to leave your video on, that helps us give you feedback. Because we are recording this for people in other time zones or who have commitments, if you don't want to be on the recording, we'll warn you if we're going to go to gallery view. And if you don't want to be on, just turn your camera off for a minute till we're done with that. But the rest of the time, it'll be my face or dance camera or Ruth's face or dance camera. So this is just for us teachers to see. Yeah. I think that's all logistical stuff. Is that true?
I think so. Oh, one more thing. Last week we started doing stuff where during the more challenging variations, on my camera, on my dance view, I'm going to be keeping on doing the basics unless I'm teaching it and needing to show it for y'all. But I'll try to make sure to give you a bunch of basics. And if you are wanting Mike or me to be dancing more basics during the practice time so you can watch them, just ask us on the chat and we're happy to do that. Because this is a class for people who have all sorts of different experience amounts, and different moves are harder and different variations are harder for different people. Some of the ones that we're throwing at y'all are challenging. So I just realized that when I was starting dance, I didn't always know what was super hard, and sometimes I was like, I should get this, but if you're improving from where you were at, you are successful. Yeah, so I think those are the only other logistics.
Cool, and I think we're starting with mooches, right?
Yeah, all right, so that's me.
Yeah, I'm gonna spotlight you. Bam.
Oh, boom. All right. So I'm coming over here to y'all. So for our mooches, make sure to start fully on this one foot, and then we're dropping the hip. And we have a couple different versions. A lot of the time it comes with a little drop on the knee. Sometimes I don't drop the knee in, so if you see me doing that, that's a variation on the basic that I often do. But today we're going to drop that knee in with the hip. And we're not putting all of our weight on it, but we've got kind of enough weight on this that I could squish a bug with it successfully. So it's not lightweight tappy, but it's not a full transfer yet. So we go squish, and then we take this hip. And if you have pants on, you can grab those and bring your hip around, a little half circle. And that bringing the hip around brings you onto the new foot. So now we can squish a bug on this side, squish, dropping that knee and hip in, and around, and it brings you in this weight transfer. So let's do a couple of squishes in a row, starting on one foot, and we squish, relax, squish, relax. If squishing a bug is not a nice idea for you, you can think of pouring weight beautifully into this leg, but not transferring your weight. And then relax. In, relax. In, relax. In, relax. Let's do that on the other side. So we've transferred our weight, and we go in, in, in. If this is a review for you, See if you can really think about exactly how your body is relating, how your leg weight, how your foot is connecting to the ground, and just pouring in. Shoo, ha, shoo, ha, shoo, ha, shoo, ha. Let's do just the circle part. So I'm going to be on my first leg, and I'm going to bring the hip around. And as I bring the hip around, it pours my weight into the new side. So now we've got the second side. Circles forward, around, new side. I'm taking the circle not in my whole body, but really here in my hip. Circles around, pulls me to the new side. Circles around, pulls me to the new side. Circles around to the new side. And I feel it right in here. Circles around to the new side. So let's put the two parts together now. We have our drop into that leg, the squish if you can think of it that way. And there's no weight transfer yet. And then we circle around, it transfers our weight. Drop, circle to transfer. Drop, the weight of the leg, but not the full body transfer. The circle brings us to transfer. Drop, transfer and around. Drop, around, 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 drop, around. If you want a way of thinking about it, if this kind of hip motion is new for you, after you drop this, you can imagine that you have like a bottle of olive oil that you're inside, and you want to have olive oil on your hips. So we'll imagine it's some kind of fantastic skin or clothing treatment. So you drop it, and then with your hip, you're getting around. So you get all this nice olive oil on your hip, and you're on your new foot. Now we've got a new hip to oil up. So we drop and around. Drop, get some oil on the hip. Drop, get some oil on the hip. How are we doing on this?
They're looking pretty good. Ruth, can I drive home a point that you made really nicely?
Absolutely.
So one of the things that I saw, I'm gonna steal your spotlight for a second. One of the things that we saw in the video is that people, have a tendency, move this, to not put enough weight on this foot, right? So if you watch this versus what Ruth is saying about dropping in and pouring the weight like through that whole time, there's a real tendency to keep it too lightweight, and then you notice how it looks sort of detached from the floor, and it ends up looking lighter and weaker versus like sort of strong and heavy, like Ruth does it. Yeah. So I'm gonna flip it back to you, Ruth, so you can show them that again.
Excellent. Yeah. So we're here, and we have our other cat assistant here, who is very grounded. So we're here. We have this down, around, as Mike was saying. Down, around. We had a question about what's happening with the joints in the knees and the ankles. I'm going to have nice loose joints. They're absorbing what's happening. So let's take a second to put some heat onto our knees because it's still not quite warm enough, at least in my house. Rub your hands together, put some heat on your knees. Take a second, do some little rounds. Around the other way. And then you can notice that your ankles have a lot of room to move with your feet on the floor. So then as we do what Mike was saying, where we really pour our weight here and then around, or pour the weight here, around, pour, around, pour, around, my joints are able to have that nice flexibility. Pour, around. And by the time I land on the foot, they're lined up again. So as I'm pouring in here, there's this feeling of weightedness, but not standing on it. And when I get here, now it's more lined up. So that protects all of our joints while making a really cool weighted look and feel here. And then I transfer.
Cool. You've got a question. I've got two questions for you also. So the first question I have for you, Ruth, how much weight do you feel like you put in the foot when you make that initial transfer at the beginning of the movement? That one, how much weight do you feel like that is for you?
It's like the weight of my leg.
Cool, cool, cool. And then when you come around, do you go to like straight leg, dancer straight, or bent leg when you end up landing on that leg?
I go to dancer straight leg, and if you see, I have hyperextensive knees. This is just a thing. This is not a thing you should aspire to. It's just a thing about my body. So sometimes my dancer straight leg, which is a little bit bent, might look more straight on my body. So it is still dancer straight. It's not locked out, but I'm also not going down plunk in my basic, because this feels harder for me to get my hips to move. So I've got this down all around that dancer straight leg.
Cool. And then Jill asked, are you landing heel level or around the edge of the foot to the heel?
Am I landing heel or around the edge of the foot? I think I understand the question.
Jill, do you want to clarify?
Yeah, I was wondering whether you're letting your weight go around the edge of your foot and then get to the heel, or is the heel coming down singly, so the foot lands?
It depends what exact pathway I'm doing with my hip. So if you're newer, this is a little bit of a technical thing. Don't worry about it. This is confusing. Joe, what I'm doing here, if I want to do a wider one, then I'm going outside of my foot to heel. If I'm doing a more contained one, then I actually just roll pretty straight through my foot as my hip goes around.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Mike, do you do something different? I'd love to hear if you have a different technique there.
Sure. Yeah, I do similar, but I tend to, I'm gonna spotlight myself. When I do a really wide one, I actually sort of adjust where I'm pushing with my foot. So if you shift your weight sort of over or slightly past one of your feet, depending on what's comfortable and safe for you, right? You'll notice that like if you push down the inside of your foot, you can rock it so that the weight is on the inside of the foot. You can relax it through to the middle or all the way to the outside of the foot. So I tend to control like where I'm pushing with the foot and texturing. So if I do a really big one, I still go, I go like here and then through the center sort of to flat foot rather than actually rolling to the outside. But I don't know why I do that. I just like the feeling.
Yeah. So it's nice to oops, I'll spotlight myself. One of the fantastic things about doing these is that when we get into the nitty-gritties, there are some multiple techniques. I'm seeing one other question when exactly the full weight transfer happens. I think of it as being pretty gradual. So as we have this, we've got some weight into this leg. And then as we go around, I'm pouring all of it in, kind of as that foot is lowering, so that by the end, this leg is free to do that next in. But it's not, if I did it all at once, in, it takes a lot of the, it would feel like it was taking some of the beautiful gushiness of it. Great questions.
Yeah, George had a follow-up about like seeming to have more than half his weight transferred before he's halfway around. I feel like that's true for me too. I feel like that's about where, like halfway around, I'm typically a little past halfway. So that tracks.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's do a couple more basics since we have a lot of questions. Let's do them all together. And if you are experiencing this, see how gorgeous your basics can be. And you can play with like exactly how you, as a dancer, are thinking about the weight on your foot as you're doing that hip around. So we'll have our high, down, around, down, around, down, around, down, around, down, around, down, around, shoot, ha, shoot, ha, shoot, ha, shoot, ha, shoot, ha, shoot, ha. Awesome.
Yeah, looking really nice. I got one more point just from watching those, if that's cool.
Yes, of course, fabulous. Let me put the spotlight on Dancer You.
All right. And those of you who've done a bunch of these before know this, but those of you who are new, the thing that I was not seeing happen there is just some twisting in the hips versus like whole body or just the leg, right? So put your weight on your left foot and first twist just your leg, right? And then do the twist, right? Like you're in an adorable movie, right? And so you'll notice when you do that, your hips are going to rotate more than your upper body, right? Now it may not be totally straight. You could try that though. That's a nice way to practice. You can just face the camera. For some reason, hands like this really helps me. And just shuffle your feet to one side and the other, right? And so when Ruth is doing a round, that will give you the sort of mobility to shape this how you want, whether you want to make it go more lateral or just more rotational. But I think that's the piece for those of you who are new to this that like you want to be working on.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
All right.
Should we do a variation?
Yeah, let's keep the camera on you. I think you've got the first variation.
I think I do, and I think I super remember what it is, and I think I'm definitely not reading right now what we're doing. Where is it? There we go, found it. Okay. A very naughty office chair today. Okay, so this is a super straightforward variation, but I don't see it a lot, and I actually don't do it a lot, which is just on the second half of this. Instead of resolving to like a dancer straight leg like we normally would, I'm going to drop. And there's a couple ways you can style this, but the most simple way is just, so you go, you're prepped, and then drop, prep, drop, prep, drop, prep, drop, right? Now, a slightly more Mike way to style it is to do a little hint of a peekaboo, right? Where one leg sort of goes away from the other and then gets chased and then they make up. One leg leaves, gets chased, and then they make up, right? So, shoo, bow, wow. I like that as a like sort of flavor on this, but you could do it either way. So let's do a bunch of those in a row, nice and chill. So we have a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm going to back it up and do a few more. Oh, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now notice I'm scatting that as like 1, 2. And the reason for that is that if you want to add in that peekaboo feeling, right, from here, that's the moment when I'm popping this knee out, which makes it look like a peekaboo versus just having this side be active. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, which is also fine, right? Shoop, or 1, 2. Yeah, I just activate the sort of trailing leg if I want to add the peekaboo variation on that. I'll do that from behind also, starting with the not peekaboo version. 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then I'll do the peekaboo version. We have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and the whiteboard. All right, any questions on that? How are we looking?
We're looking good. I haven't seen any questions happening yet.
Cool.
Maybe a little bit more practice on that.
Yeah, should we put on a little music?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Cool. I'll just do like 30 seconds or so of music, maybe a minute, to let people like try that out and see how that goes. And you try your basic, and you can also try this. Sorry, go ahead, Ruth.
And I was going to say, while Mike has that on, if you want to watch me do some basics, I will do some basics with y'all.
Yeah. All right, here is a little song.
something for you to come home. Got me waiting by the telephone. Say you're gonna be here before the sun sets. The moon has risen and you're not here yet. When it comes to you, I haven't got a clue. I can't pin you down. You're just as slippery as an eel. Well, you always hit around, but I just never know how you feel. Got me worrying what you're gonna do. I'm always dreading what you're gonna put me through. You say you wanna see me, then you act so blind. You say you wanna be with me, but some other time, when it comes.
Cool. So as we were doing this, I was reminded of something I saw in one of the videos that was submitted, which was the talking about like when the drop happens and how it relates to the weight transfer. So I like to do it as a prep here, come around, and sort of as I'm transferring the weight, that's kind of when I do the drop. You could also do, I think we had some people do like down and down, which is also cool and just different. So if you're looking to do my version, it is prep around and drop, or with the peekaboo, prep around and drop, sort of end up there. Tech question, is there a way to just have Ruth and Mike in the big screen when Ruth is sticking with the basic? I don't know a way to spotlight two videos at once, unfortunately. However, you can pin a video for yourself. If you mouse over a video, click on the three little dots, and then you can click on pin video. So if you wanted to choose one of us instead of having us choose for you using the spotlight, you can do that. And to get out of that, you can click unpin video whenever you're done. Okay, another question. The drop cuts the circle of the hip a little short, right? Yes, yeah. It feels better to me, like I probably get, my normal ends up like slightly past square for me, right? That's my normal. When I do the drop, I end up more squarish versus being more like pulled back. Actually, no, that's not true. It's a kinesthetic illusion. I feel like I'm cutting it short, but you really don't have to. You can twist kind of the same that I would in my normal, but it's reasonable. Let me try with the peekaboo version and see if that changes anything. Doesn't have to, actually. Yeah, so optional. You can, you don't have to. Good question.
For those of you who have done some other jazz moves, if you don't know this move, don't worry about it. But Mike's leg action with the drop reminds me just a little bit of a Shorty George, where they're both going in the same direction during that drop.
Oh, yeah. Good point. All right. Should we go on to a Ruth variation?
Sounds good. And let me know. I'm going to try still spotlighting just one of us, but let us know next time, and we'll try other options if we can't successfully pin.
If you're spotlighted, then it won't give you the pin option. You have to unspotlight and let us choose who to pin.
Oh,
okay.
That's a bummer.
Well, we can just do speaker option. Then it'll go to, if everybody stays on mute, it'll just go to you by default, Mike. So that'll be fine.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself then while you do your oh, but you know what? It won't spotlight our dance cams with speaker because those are on mute.
Well, it won't matter too much anyway when we're doing the practice session. So we can just switch it to that for that part, but not for this.
Oh, yeah. Super smart. Thank you.
We're all in this together. Thank you all for the tech. Okay, so my variation. This is like such a variation that I love that I think we were talking about. I think Mike does a version that's also almost as a basic because it just feels great. So we have our drop around, but if we go drop around and just let it come all the way to the other side, it gives us this little rebound. So it's like shoot, ha, shoot, ha, shoot, ha, shoot. So if I go back to the olive oil metaphor, if I think instead about just wanting to oil up my hip sides, I now want to oil up my bum right here. So you can see from the back angle, when I go down around, instead of it landing and staying, it keeps going around to drop me into the next down part. So it flows really, really nicely. So instead of going slow for a long time, let's see if we can go a little bit flowier to start with. Shoot, ah, shoot, ah. And this sounds kind of funny, but it's kind of helpful for how it feels in my body. Shoot, ha, 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 shoot. From the back. Shoot, ha, shoot, ha, shoot, ha, shoot, ha, shoot, ha, shoot, ha, shoot. So if you're wondering, how is this even different from the basic, which I kind of wondered when I started doing this variation, our basic, shoot, over, we're not keeping this back half. If this back half is a new feeling for you, start on one foot and like, I'm just gonna go back to this oil metaphor because I love it. You wanna get oil on the bum. So you can even imagine you have this beautiful olive oil and for some reason you have bread in a basket on your bum and you're going bread in the oil, bread in the oil. I'll turn sideways so you can see this. More specifically for this variation, I'm not doing something with my back crunching. Instead, I have this long back. I use a dragon tail metaphor a lot, so I'm going to come back to this one. This is like bread, oil, dragon tails, but bear with me. We have this long tail. Have this for a second. It's nice and heavy on the ground. And if you tilt your pelvis up, boom, it will hit somebody. So instead, we have that nice and long, and it just rubs along the floor as we do this action. So you could imagine that you are in the sand and you want to draw this nice little half circle in the sand with your imaginary dragon tail. So whatever metaphor works for you, if you don't like metaphors, we can just think of taking our hips around as we transfer our weight. Around. Around. So we have this shoot, woo, shoot, woo, shoot, woo, shoot. From the back, shoot, woo, shoot, woo, shoot, woo, shoot, woo, shoot. And from the front again. Shoot, woo, shoot, woo, shoot, woo, shoot, woo, shoot. Any questions so far on this? Like a peacock. Yeah.
The noise. Ah, ah.
I love it. Totally.
It's almost like a cardioid shape. If you're familiar with microphones or is it calculus? Trigonometry maybe, where it's like a heart but round and then like a heart but round.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm glad the sounds are helpful. Good. How are we doing on this? Are we feeling good about this variation? I'm getting some thumbs. Sweet. Awesome. Yeah, I'm seeing some shapes. Fantastic.
Cool.
Awesome. So let's, you can always, we're going to leave this up for a week, so you can always come back to this to play with it some more. But I think, do we want to do a little bit of music to practice or just move on to the next one?
Great. Do this. Do thumbs up if you want to go on to the next one, and high five if you want to do some music practice. Cool. Let's do some music to practice.
Love it.
I was like, oh no, I don't want to do thumbs down.
Be like subliminal messaging. Okay, and I'm gonna unpin us.
Okay, perfect.
When it comes to you, I haven't got a clue. Life with you is like a guessing game. I never do know if I'm gonna get the thanks or gonna get the blame. You keep me guessing, guessing what's the score. It's so distressing, wondering what you got in store. I'm tired of trying to please you, honey, but then when I try to leave you, you're so sweet to me then. When it comes to you,
Okay, I got so excited that I forgot to turn off the song because I was watching everybody. Yeah. So there's a good question here about, can you talk about how much your feet rotate on the floor? And Ruth, I'm curious, I think we might do this differently. So I might go first, and then.
Let's go to Mike Can't.
Sweet, thanks. So this might be an example of like more than one right way. So I tend to turn in the hip, but I also turn in the leg to start, which means when I come around, I do rotate that foot on the floor. Shoot, one, shoot, in my default. And some of my other ones, I have a little less turn in and twist, but most often for me, you can see this angle here, and then where I finish, right? And I get like I don't know, like a 90-degree angle shift or something like that on the floor. Ruth, what do you do?
Fantastic. Hold on. Spotlight. Okay. So yes, this is definitely multiple right answers. Because I tend to spotlight my hip drop a little bit more than my knee dropping in my basic default mooch. My default has my toe pointing forward as my knee drapes in, and I just transfer, there's more of a squish towards the inside of my foot rather than the full foot where I like doing this. So not that I don't do this sometimes, but my default is shoom, hoom, so that this is kind of more of a plant for my basics. So yeah, two really awesome ways to do a basic.
That's awesome. It does look like your sort of solution to the same thing is that you are sort of rolling from one part of the foot to the other. So I think if in general, if you're trying to like plant all of your foot really solidly, that's probably really hard.
It's probably hard on your knee as well. So let's avoid that one.
Yeah.
We're trying your body, both of those defaults for a second, because I think different builds, different people, different preferences have solutions that feel more like your home solution, if you will. So take a second. If you do one, try the other. If you don't do either one, try them both. So that, or that. This is definitely delightful.
It's cool how different they are.
Yeah.
Really different feelings.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we go on to the challenge variations? Is it time?
I think it's time.
Oh boy. Okay. I'm gonna spotlight me. And I'm gonna. This is that point in the class where we say, hey, if you're at a point where you're saturated with this particular move, keep working on the basics or on the 2 variations we've given you so far. That's totally fine and a good use of your time. This one is so hard that I had to draw a diagram, and I was like, how do I do this? So this is just adding upper body in a way that has sort of become my basic on this move. So it looks like a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And as I'm counting 1, 2, here's what's happening in upper body. I'm going to turn so you can see it a little. No, I'll keep it here. I'm going 1 and 2. Nope. Sorry. 1 and there we go. 2 and. So it's always a front on the beat, back on and, right? So if you try that, just go 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and, right? However, it's alternating between going straight forward or making kind of a, bust out my visual aid, making like a sort of not quite a half circle, but like you're thinking about a half circle, right? Where it goes, pew, sort of back to where it came. It could be a little bit more like an oval maybe if you wanted, or it could be like a wider, whatever this thing is. And so if we just do that and don't worry about the lower half for a second, go forward, that's your beat. 1 and now swing around. 2 and 1 and swing around. 2 and 1 and 2 and, right? However, because of what's going on in the lower body, I don't swing the same way every time. I alternate which way I swing. I know. It's going to make sense in a minute. Ish. So I go 1 and swing around one way, 2 and now straight forward. 1 and swing the other way, 2 and straight forward. 1 and 2 and 1 and other way, 2 and, right? Now that seems really academic and complex, but it actually comes out of what's happening in the lower body, but I think it's nice to understand it on its own first, right? So that upper body, again, it's like this. So on odd beats, I'm going 1 and 2, sorry, 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and, right? So always going forward on the ands is a nice way to like, sorry, always going forward on the beat, back on the and is a nice way to start this. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Now the reason they change direction with which way I swoop on the round winds is because you have this thing going on the hips, right? And so what happens is my chest sort of chases my hips, right? So do this, stand on both feet, right? Take your hips, they're cool, but hips to your left, swing them around forward and to the right. Do that again. So left, forward, right. Okay, now do that, left, forward. Now finish off, but as your hips go to the right, let your upper body go left, forward, right. Yeah. So your hips go left, forward, and as they finish up, your upper body goes left, forward, right, and catches up. It's an offset, right? So my fingers, my hands are hips and upper body. Pew, 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 right? And so when you have this movement, that seems a little bit like this, except more subtle. So if you put your weight on your, like partially onto your right foot, you're starting a mooch on the right side. As you swing your hips sort of forward and out to the side, stretch your ribs a little bit to your left, so your hips are starting to go to the right, upper body to the left, swing it forward around and end up on top. Now just pop it forward, right? So if we just break it down again on the other side, so you're starting a mooch on your left, your hips are going to go forward and start to go to left, So if your hips are going to the left, upper body's going to the right. Then your upper body's gonna chase them around. It's gonna go forward, end up on the right. So watch it in slow motion. I'm gonna go 1, straight forward. And starting to swing this around. 2, and I'm back again. 1, straight forward. And starting to swing the hip around. 2, I'm chasing my own hip, and, right? So I know it's a bunch of these people, these pieces, but if you want to practice them independently, 1 and around, and 1 and other way, and 1 and, right? That's thing number 1 to practice. Thing number 2 to practice is half circle, half circle, half circle, half circle. Go the other way, half circle, right? So just piecing these pieces together, and then you can start thinking about forward on every beat. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, a lot of pieces. I'd like to give you a second to practice without me talking words at you, if that's okay, and kind of look in the video and see how things are going, unless there are written questions.
There is a question, Mike.
Aha! Is it a contraction? Good question. Let me think about that. It's like maybe the teeniest of baby contractions sometimes, depending on how intensely I'm doing this. I think more about it being like sort of backspace than like a full-on contraction, especially because it's not using the like lower part. So like instead of a contraction that does like everything, right? Like all of this, it's more like upper rib cage half contraction or just sort of back space. Does that make sense? That was a complicated answer. Cool. Cool. All right, I'd like to give you all a second to practice. I will put on music, but if you want to go slower than that, that's fine. The goal is not necessarily, I mean, if you get it right now, that's awesome. If not, the goal is to come up with like which pieces are hard and which pieces have questions. So I'll put on a short song, give you a second to practice. Yeah.
I'm on Spotlight, and I'm gonna keep doing the first 2. So if you wanna come play with that, if this is a little bit out of your pay grade for the moment, come hang out with me.
All right, let's do a slightly slower song.
He met a girl in Paris, France. It was at a rockin' big alley dance. Now he wants to go back where he found big alley love. Oh, they were dancing so close, you see. He called her darling. She said, Sherry, 2 hearts together, forever bound. Big alley love. But then one day, one cold gray day, he had to tell his baby goodbye. Oh, there's no way to forget her kisses. No matter how he tries, he's over here, she's over there. You know he's scuffling, trying to raise his fare, so he can go back where he found big alley love.
It was pointed out to me that, by the way, if you don't choose to pin a video during that time, you'll just see my face the whole time because mine is the computer making noise. So thank you. I tried to respond, thank you for the heads up, but I didn't hit enter fast enough, but anyway. Yeah. So from watching y'all play around, I think the biggest thing is just if you want to, like the easiest way to practice this is just going to be practicing that 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1 and 2 on top of this. I think the round straight will kind of happen based on what's happening in your hips, or it won't, but it's still a cool version. So sorry, this week my challenges are super challenging. My bad. Ruth, should we do yours?
Yeah.
Should we save everybody?
Let's do it. All right. Okay, so my challenge kind of builds on my first variation. So that first variation, we had our in and we went all the way around, in and we go all the way around. So for this particular one, we go in, around, down. So there's this extra hip circle here, and that changes the timing of it. So when we start doing it with the music, a lot of the time we'll do this in, around, down, down, and I'll play with it that way. So you can go here, hip circle around, and I use this foot on the floor. I kind of draw a little circle in the way my foot is weighted. So I think about the big toe, this part of the toes, and then the little toe, as I'm doing this. And it's also like, if you imagine you're doing a little sit-up here, like we're doing, like if you're on the floor and you're like, tiny crunch, tiny crunch, tiny crunch. Wow, that's the first time. I usually do it on the floor when I'm teaching classes in person, but haven't done it online yet. So we have this down, tiny crunch for that around, 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 around. So we have this in, around, in, around, in. And I actually get a little bit onto the balls of my feet. And I know that this is normally something that we avoid in blues. We don't want to be dancing like tippy toe. But I let my hips pull me. And because this isn't a home place, I'm not trying to make a point of being up. I'm not going Instead, it's like my hips are so like excitable that they just pull this off the ground, and then it's a relief when I come back down. So we have this wah 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 wah. So you can play with that again, and you can take a break between to go extra drop, and then down, around, down. Wow, wow, wow. Ha. So you can play with that again. Reset. Here. Around, down. Around, down. Around, down. And it looks cool when there is not a break. So this is a cool thing. Do ha. But it looks like you're just doing different things. So a lot of the kind of magic of this one is in the flow of it. Wow, 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 wow. I'm gonna watch myself in the mirror to make sure I'm doing what I'm saying I'm doing, because sometimes this turns into other variations that I like to play with. So I make sure I'm consistent for y'all. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, 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 wow. The other thing that makes this cool is that I'm really thinking of it being one side, whole side, one side, down. One side, whole body, around, down. So there's that shoo-wah-ha, shoo-wah-ha, shoo-wah, shoo-wah, wah. And to make it more exaggerated, I'll also drop more into it. So shoo-wah, wah, 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 wah. If you want to start exaggerating with playing with the in-ness of the knee, then it starts to look a little bit like snake hips, if that's something you're familiar with. So if I widen my stance and exaggerate that, shoo-wah, wah, wah. Wow, 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 wow. So that's a little tweak on that variation that has a really cool impact. And then bounce over here and look for questions and mic comments.
Yeah, first off, that's amazing, and I love it so much. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How is the spread of the weight change distributed over the WAs?
That is a fantastic question that I will ask my body. Wah, wah, wah. Yeah, so when I first start this, I'm basically prolonging this first part. So I have my leg weight here, and I have enough weight that this feels like it can impact it. So if I just dropped it and did it without weight, it looks a little airy. And because I'm really relying on the balls of my feet, I especially don't want this to look like an airy thing, because it loses a lot of the aesthetic. So instead, when I drop here, I'm really able to use that weightedness here. Wow. But I don't have my weight transferred completely, wow, until this point. So I have the wah, 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 that part. Specific counts, wah, and then it comes around in here. And again, this is just dropping leg weight, a little extra than leg weight, and then a full weight transfer. Shoot, wah, 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 wah. And it feels like, when I feel like I'm getting the flow of it, I hesitate to say it feels out of control, but it feels a little bit like I'm riding a roller coaster of the momentum I have set up in my hips, rather than like I'm controlling it at any moment, which makes it very exciting, I would say.
Amazing. Do you want to give people a minute with music before we change gears?
Yeah, let's do it. Any questions, y'all, before we do that? Thumbs up if you're good to try the music. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so I will put it on your face mic or unspotlight it.
He met a girl in Paris, France. It was at a rockin' pig alley dance. Now he wants to go back where he found pig alley love. Oh, they were dancing so close, you see. He caught her, darling. She said, Sherry, two hearts together, forever bound, pig alley love. But then one day, one cold gray day, he had to tell his baby goodbye. Oh, there's no way to forget her kisses. No matter how he tries, he's over here, she's over there. You know he's scuffling, trying to raise his fare, so he can go back where he found pig alley love.
Yeah. All right. How are y'all doing? Are we good to go on to some grinds? Do any more questions?
I had a musical note before we move on.
Oh yeah.
When I'm doing that last variation, I combine it with a lot of hip drops to play with it, and I often use it to mark the ending of a phrase where you can feel the music kind of getting towards a wrapping up feeling, and it feels more exciting to me. And so I'll use that to really accent that excitement through the excitement of my hips.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super awesome. All right, I'm gonna spotlight future me.
Hey.
And here I am from the past. All right. So grinds are fairly straightforward. At their like most obvious level, there's sort of an arc with the hips. So if you put your weight on your left, right, you're gonna shift weight to your right. And then if your weight is on your right, you're gonna shift weight to your left. Footwork is very easy. The trick is we want one hip to go up, but I like the look of one going up and one hip going down at the same time. That makes it look a little more weighted and a little more heavy for like a nice, good, bluesier default. A lot of people start their grinds like this, where they just lift the hip, which isn't the end of the world. That's not wrong. But I think Ruth and I both like, correct me if I'm speaking incorrectly about you, but I think we both like the one down, one up, because it makes it look more heavy and more weighted.
You are totally correct.
Yes. So if you stand on your left leg and just pick your right foot up, put it wherever you want, chuck it off in the closet, I don't know. Take that left leg and try to drop it down, but leave your right hip the same height. So you'll notice that's gonna do this, where one hip's going down and one's going up. I'm gonna turn to the side so you can see that leg bend that's causing that. And on this side, how it's hopefully not moving much, just an angle change. All right. And then try that on the other side. So on your right leg now, trying to keep your left hip the same height, but drop your right hip. Right, so if you drop and then push, right, that's about half of it, 3/4 of it. And the other piece, now if you pick up your free hip, you've got one hip going up, right? We did that in previous weeks with stuff. So one hip goes up, but one hip goes down, shoop, and now push through. It's like you're standing on one foot, somebody comes along, a very large and rude giant comes along and goes, and you're like, oh no, I'm just standing here with crazy hips. And then you get sort of knocked over. So you get this sort of one up, one down, through, 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 one up, one down, through. Now, rhythmically, you'll typically see this in like the 1, 2, 3, 4. You can also do it faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. But I think it's important to keep it looking nice and grounded and not get too up and out. Right? This is me pulling one hip up and then reaching out with the foot. Don't do that. Instead, drop one, raise one, and push from this side of you and just land on that free leg. That'll be a nicer looking default on your grind. How are they looking, Ruth?
You're looking great. Nice.
All right. In that case, let's go to your challenge. Or do people have questions? Do people have questions?
I think we're ready to go to this. All right. So my challenge. There was one question. People ask me sometimes. Oh, thank you for reading that. A question people ask me sometimes that comes up a lot with this family of movements is if you have back issues, how to make this kinder. So I just want to do a little back release moment before we move on to this variation. So if you take your hands, and we're in the privacy of our own home, so you can reach underneath your pants if that's comfortable for you. We're going to rub right over our sacrum, so there's like a wavy bone that's between your hip bones, the base of your spine, and we're going to rub it like we're rubbing the flesh, moving it up and down. So let's take a second, we're reaching in there, and we're vigorously rubbing, and then we can round our backs like we're rounding over the big beach ball that's back there on my shelf. Round over that. Let's turn sideways. Round over, bending your knees, and straighten up. Still vigorously rubbing, round, and straighten, round, and straighten. Let's do 2 more, round, and straighten, round and straighten, and then let's just do twice with our backs flat and our knees straight. Rubbing, coming up, rubbing, coming up. And that should just let your back and your pelvis drop just a little bit. If these feel at all uncomfortable for you, the answer is do it a little bit less. Some of us have different ranges of motion, and some of us have worked on our ranges of motion. So if as you're working on this, it feels like it's uncomfortable, you can still play with that idea that Mike was doing with that down and up in a small way, and that will still be cool. The other thing I think about is, as I'm doing this, and this is super important for my variation, rather than everybody take a second to squish everything down, this locks out your joints a little bit and makes it hard to move. So I'm gonna take behind my head, bring this on up as much as I can, up, 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 up. And then I'm going to see if I can let everything rest. And this has given me more space right here. This is something, if things are uncomfortable for you, feel free to ask me. I care a lot about, we both care a lot about these feeling good in your body. So my quick answer is, if it's not feeling good, do it less. And see how released you can find it. So for this variation, let's see if there's questions about that before I move on. Oh, thanks, Mike. Okay, so for this variation, we're going to be doing the down and the up, and we're adding a little extra crunch here, like if you were, I didn't lay on the floor yet again today, if you were like, whoo, whoo, with this side. And this is the opposite of what I often do, because I don't often lift this up, but I'm going to play with that today. It's tempting when you hike this up to do this with your back, but I'm going to have that nice long spine when I do this. So I'm going to go down and hike, down and hike, down and hike. You'll notice that because I'm hiking this, I'm then allowing my body to resolve it by flowing through. So I think about it like there's like a water dam that I've gotten here, and then when I release it, it has to flow somewhere. So we have this down up hike, shoo, hoo, 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 hoo. Let's see if there are any questions on that. Questions? How's it looking, Mike?
Sorry, I was on mute. I was like, blah, blah, blah. It's looking pretty good. I think there is like, oh gosh, how do I put words to this? I feel like when you do it, there is like, there's more crunch and there's more growth from the crunch versus like additional like choices of movement that are unrelated to the crunch. Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like that's what I'm seeing a little bit in the chat. Thanks for letting me show that instead of make words for that. Awesome. Yeah, so maybe can you just show us a few more times and see if we can be more like you?
Absolutely. I think that what will help everyone is just how I think about movement. So there are lots of wonderful ways of thinking about movement, and how you think about things will change what comes out. So if you're looking for this effect, one of the ways that I often think about movement that creates this in my body is I think about things flowing through both space and time. So rather than thinking about this all being somehow at the same time, I think of things very sequentially. So this goes down, that draws this up. And then as this goes over, it flows through my spine. So if we just draw this hip up, and then as we're bringing it down, it flows through my spine. The other thing that makes my spine ripple in this kind of snaky way is, as it goes over, I'm already thinking about that scoop under. I think my favorite visual image for this is I imagine that my hips are like ice cream scoops, and who doesn't want ice cream? If you can't have dairy, it's dairy-free, all that good stuff. So you have this up, and then as you're resolving it under, you can let that flow through your spine. So let's just try parts of it together. It goes up. We start with this up feeling. And then as it scoops under, it can flow through your spine. And that's how I end up with that flow with it. If you're not used to flowing in this way in your spine, if you take my body care classes, we do a little exercise where we go to the side and then we do this little snaky kind of thing. One of the key things with this is that I really like to imagine side hugging a friend. So if I imagine that somebody's right here next to me, when I'm doing this, feeling over here, instead of this collapsing down, there's still a lot of space right here because I don't want to squish my friend. I just want to gently hug them with my ribs. So here it goes. There's a friend over on the opposite side. Wow. This is up here. And then as it comes down, there's a friend on this opposite side. And so that gives us that snaky kind of feeling.
That's looking better. That's looking better. I think one other thing that you're doing that other people aren't doing as much is like you have like this relaxedness in your shoulders and head, whereas some other people are sort of forcing them to stay level. Not forcing, but they're keeping them level because that's what they're used to.
Yeah.
And so even just when you were like, you know, just swaying back and forth, I was like, that's what's missing. So if you're like not comfortable with that, like play around with that. That's a really cool, very Ruth quality that I love.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Should we, oops, let me undo this. Cancel spotlight. Should we do a little bit of music and play with this? Unless
I love it. And if y'all do have questions, this is a good time to type them too.
Yeah. That was looking good.
Yeah.
It's really nice. All right. Let's do
I feel like we have questions that are being typed. I'm guessing though.
Awesome.
I just see some furrowed brows and some forward hands. Haha, I knew it. Ruth, would you do it to music?
I would sure try.
Okay.
You can.
Oh my God.
Okay, I know why I was getting it. I was unmuting the wrong thing. Can y'all hear me? Okay, good.
Yeah, sorry, I gave you a dumb spot of the song. I had paused just before that for people practicing and then forgot I did that.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. Did y'all see, I play with it, I like it slow, but you can also play with it fast.
Cool, I see some nods.
Okay, awesome.
Sweet, 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 sweet.
All
All right. Do we want to? Should we switch to the? Do you want to talk about like the sort of dual nature of yours real quick before we switch to the other two variations?
Oh, yeah. Okay, let me go back. So,
I'm gonna spotlight your face.
okay. So, so this one had like, sorry, Mike, you mean the, that this is the challenge and the super challenge?
Yeah.
So then there's one more layer that I add on to make this a super challenge, if this wasn't hard enough. And that is, I play with this undulation in this direction. So there ends up being these two waves happening at the same time. So there's this wave happening, so you can see like this one, but there's also this wave happening, which gives it even more happening. So if you want to start playing with that to make it super challenging, you can. I also can make it a little easier by like just thinking about letting this flow a little bit and not needing it to flow as much. But you can see when I start doing that, there's that action happening.
It's so good. It's so good.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. So should we go ahead and change gears to the other two grinds?
I think so, unless anybody has any questions about the playing with that super challenge version. You're good?
Right.
Awesome.
Sweet. All right. In that case, all right. So this next variation is super accessible. I'm gonna spotlight me. Oh, you beat me to it. Oh, wrong one.
I'll get it.
Okay. Thank you. So this next one is a nice, easy one. It's combining a grind with what we did last week, a boogie drop. And so gonna start exactly the same way with that one hip up, one hip down. But then instead of just landing, we're gonna go boom, boom, boom. Now this changes the timing of the grind from like your sort of 2-beat grind, right? We said you can go 1, 2, 1, 2, or you can do 1, 2. We're gonna do the faster so we go 1, 2, 3, hold 4, 1, 2, 3, hold 4, 1, 2, 3, hold 4, 1, 2, 3. And there's a lot of variables you can play with here because you could choose to like lean out of it. 1, 2, 3, hold 4, 1, 2, 3. Or you could choose to sort of push into it. 1, 2, 3, hold 4, 1, 2, 3. And all of the choices about dressing up your boogie drops that we talked about last week, you could put in, right? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 in real time. 1, 2, 3. Right? All of those similar like body choices and shaping choices you can kind of play with. The main thing is just giving it a different ending from this moment, which is familiar. But now I typically wouldn't do a million of these in a row. I might use it as a transition, right? So like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, shoo, and then something else. That would be a very mic transition, but you could absolutely use it repeatedly over and over again. So I'm gonna just count a little bit. I'll do it for a couple variations. This one's fairly straightforward. People who did it in the video like nailed it, so that's awesome. But I want to make sure everybody has a chance to try it before I give you my other absurdly hard challenge thing today. So let's just do a couple different ones. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to change directions. 5, 6, 7, and hold 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so lots of ways you can shape that. I feel like probably people are pretty good, but how are people feeling? Like thumbs up if you're like, yes, I get that. Okay, cool. I'll go ahead and give you the super challenge one before we put on music, and you can try that mixed in as much as you want. So the super challenge one, I'm sorry, I picked 2 really hard ones for this week. I'm not sorry. You're welcome. I picked 2 really hard ones this week. It's not super hard. It just has a lot of pieces that happen in rapid succession instead of all at the same time like the last one. So instead of landing like this, which is very natural, we're going to do a very Mike thing and land like this. So hips change. This is normal. This part is normal. As I land, I drop that hip. This comes from muscle memory for me of the way that I often do fishtails. I often drop that hip. If you've ever taken a fishtail class with me, you've seen that. So I raise one hip, drop one, and then whichever one I'm landing on, I push it down, right? So just do that a few times. Raise it, push it through. As you step, drop it down. Then try on the other side, right? Raise it, push it through, boom, drop it down. Now, raise it, push it through, drop it down. So you should end up with whichever foot has your weight, that hip is lower, and you can use your hands to like show that to yourself, right? Then there's one other additional piece that isn't in the basic, which is after I have switched my hips, I push through, I land, I raise that hip back up again. Why? Because it's unnecessary and I like it. So I've dropped it, I raise it, and then I switch the hips, push it through, drop that hip as you land on it, scoop it up just because it'll be nice, and then you switch. So now your free leg has the higher hip, your standing leg has the lower hip, you push through. Yeah, so it has a sort of this rise, fall, rise, fall. And now this hip has rise, fall, rise, fall, rise, fall, right? Now when I piece it together, it creates just this sort of reboundy look, right? So if I go shoot, whop, shoot, whop, shoot, whop, shoot, whop, shoot, whop, shoot. So you just get this extra little like boop in there. It almost ends up looking more like a sidewaysy thing, but it comes from all of the up and downs that are happening, which are absolutely not essential to the basic, but I think they make a really cool shape, and it ends up feeling really natural once you get this up and down rhythm. So I'm going to turn around and do it the same way, topping through like left, right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So if you put your weight on your left leg. Oh, this is harder without a mirror. It's weird. Put your weight on your left leg. You're going to drop your left hip, raise your right. Right? Push through. So you're going to land on your right. What do? Drop the right hip. Right? So do that again. So that right hip is going to go up and down. Then back up for fun. Sort of as you stand up now, switch it, push through. Drop that left hip, raise it, switch it, push through. Drop the right hip, raise it, switch it, push through. Drop the left hip, raise it, switch it, push through. I think it's nice to have that like switch, push through kind of feels like one movement to me. I'm describing these as more things than I feel. If I talk a little bit about like the sort of intuitive thing of this to me, which if that feels like too much, if the concrete pieces are good, that's absolutely fine. But if this makes it make more sense, I sort of think about like, this is just a landing, right? And then as I stand up, I just scoop up with that hip. I scoop that hip up, and now I do a grind. And then I land. And then I stand up with that hip, and now I do a grind. I land in a very Mike way, right? I stand up using that hip, and then I do a grind, right? So even though it sounds like a bunch of extra pieces, it has a very similar flow.
That looks so good. There's a question, Mike.
Okay, how are we doing? Do we have questions?
Yeah, there's a question over here about
Yeah.
whether or not it is like a sea hip.
Good question. So a C hip, as I understand it, is usually more in this plane, right? And all right, this is looking at the wrong camera to make sure it's in frame. And tends to go front, back, front, back, front. Ruth and Julie, does that sound true to you? Do you have another? Did you learn another thing as C hips?
That's what I want to sea hips.
Okay. Julie says like also. Julie, you want to chime in?
Yeah. I've also seen it referred to if the C is vertical, in the vertical plane. I've seen them both called that.
Awesome.
Oh, in that case, it does feel like that. Yes. It does feel a little like that. It has like a little more, because it sort of rounds down rather than going like hit, 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 right? So a vertical C hip would have corners in slightly more places, whereas this one tends to go over, down, hit, switch, over, down, hit, switch. It's like a half of a C, or like it curves a little too far down, kind of, if that makes sense. So that's a good question, but I can see the similarities there for sure.
I'm just going to pop in here for a second. If you are not sure what we mean about planes, you can think about like, if you look at this tattoo on my arm, you can think about like that you could have this figure 8 in this plane here, but if I turn my arm, now you can't see it, it's in this other plane. You can think about things existing like this or like this. That's one of the things. So if you're newer to this kind of thing, when people talk about planes, like this or like that. And no, I didn't get a tattoo for that.
It's my face. Yeah. So it can feel like a lot of pieces. Both of mine this week can feel like a lot of pieces, but if you just practice like a few pieces at a time and then put them in the basic, they will hopefully make sense. Both of those are like sort of second nature for me at this point through practice. But I think that they are both doable and not as artificial as they sound when they are brand new.
So let's do a last song or song part in our official class, and then we'll turn off the cameras, and if you want to hang out with us, then you can.
Yeah. And Ruth and I assume will both be like doing stuff in front of the camera for part of the time and probably also watching the video feed for part of the time. So if you want to pin one of us, you can. That's totally fine. If not, that's also fine. You'll just see my face probably.
It's a good face.
All right, let's do this one.
Sitting here thinking, my mind way. I had a good home, but my man drove me away. Ain't that a shame? Ain't that a shame? You're gonna need my help someday. Used to give you money out of 5 and 10. Those good times are gone, they'll never happen again. Ain't that a shame? Ain't that a shame? You're gonna need my help someday. Now don't mistreat nobody, 'cause you got a few dimes. You may be a two-day rider, but you won't be out all the time. Ain't that a shame? Ain't that a shame? You're gonna need my help someday.
That was awesome. I have like one or two more thoughts, but let's do official wrap real quick first. And then for people who like have a thing to go to. So as a reminder, if you haven't yet, there is a PayPal pool link. That is greatly appreciated if you can. That certainly helps us continue to make classes. Ooh, my face, right? Thanks. I'm gonna stop saying that one of these years. So yeah, if you can, send us some money for the class, that's awesome. If you can't, we're glad that you joined us. We will have next week's class, like mini class, available online tomorrow. That will be finished editing that tonight. We'll get that out to you tomorrow so you can start playing with stuff. Again, people who submitted videos, we definitely strongly tailor our pointers and our explanations to you. So thank you for sending us those. Also, it's inspiring to us to see students working. It's really great to see people working hard on stuff that we care a lot about. This will go up if you want to review this as soon as it's got to like process and then download and upload and stuff, but that'll be up in the next few days as well if you want to come back and review this.
Should be up tomorrow.
Yeah. Also feel free to like post, like if you like this class, feel free to post links, right? And just be like, wow, I took this class, Meg Ruth, you should take it. It was like really fun and really hard or whatever. Like that's also very helpful for us.
Yeah.
You don't have to, but if you're like, I wonder how I could like spread word, you just do that. Any other thoughts from you, Ruth?
I muted myself. Oops. I'll get that one of these days. I think all those things along those lines also like sharing really anything that we're doing is very helpful to both of us. So if you want to, oh, yay, it's me. See that? I have that too. I have a YouTube channel that we're posting all of these to. And that is youtube.com/c/Ruth Evelyn. If you will subscribe to that, that would be fantastic. I would really like that because one of the things that we're trying to do as dance instructors right now is get more views. And when we have more subscribers, we get more views. That's how it works. So it's really great if you can help us with that. And also you can, if you forget to give money tonight and you want to give us money later, we take money all the time. So if you're watching this later, and you're like, this was really great, feel free to drop us that PayPal as well.
Your YouTube link is in the comments?
It will be now. Thank you.
So smart. Excellent. Okay, I wanted to make a quick note if we're going back to class geeky stuff. Oh yeah, I think that the variation that I just did with y'all, the like super crazy challengey one, is really nice for a shuffle because it has a sort of like shoom ba da ba shoom ba da ba da, right? It has a kind of shuffly feel to it. So if you like, the song I put on was a shuffle, and if you want to like try it again later, like super try it to a nice chill shuffle. Just for your information, that song was "Ain't That a Shame" by Ann Rabson, which I'm putting in the comments right now as soon as I get back to the right window. And there we go. Ann Rabson, "Ain't That a Shame." And that's 92 beats per minute, and it's got a nice shuffle to it. So that's a nice way to practice that one, to get this sort of like ba-bump, 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 which is what I like about that move.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, no, you.
Oh, I was just going to say, are we ready for video stopping time?
I think so. I think that's all our official information. So now we can just hang out, geek out. If you have a variation, a personal variation that you want to try, we are excited to see it.
Exactly. Yay. Okay, I'm stopping the video now. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you for remembering to start the video.